Recently, it was announced that Donald Trump would surrender himself to Fulton County, Georgia authorities on Thursday, the day after the first Republican primary debate, in which many people are speculating is an act of deliberate sabotage. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. All right, folks, so what am I talking about? Well, as you know, Donald Trump was indicted yet again for the fourth time by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, along with, I think it was 18 other indicted co-conspirators for his attempts to steal the 2020 election from now President Biden. This pertains to the perfect Georgia phone call. Brad, listen, I'm not asking for much. I just need you guys, just find me 11,780 votes. It's one more than what we need. That perfect phone call, trying to rally up fake electors to go to the Capitol and essentially defraud the American people out of their duly elected president-elect Joe Biden, all the things. And part of that indictment includes a time limit as to how long he has before he has to surrender himself and be arrested. And Fani Willis, the district attorney, gave him until Friday, I think it's the 25th, Friday, August 25th. So Trump's attorneys and the district attorney, negotiated the terms, and they're like, okay, so we'll surrender ourselves on Thursday, one day before the deadline, but the day after the Republican presidential primary debate, the first one. So I want to play this clip. Jen Psaki breaks it down a bit, and then we're going to unpack it because the timing is intriguing.
So this is surrender week for Donald Trump, as well as the 18 others charged with racketeering in Georgia for plotting to steal the 2020 election. They'll have just over 3.5 days until noon on Friday to surrender at the Fulton County Jail to avoid facing arrest. We just learned that the ex-president says he will surrender in Atlanta on Thursday. Today, his lawyers were at the Fulton County Courthouse, where his bond was set at $200,000. Let's just sit with that for a second. By the end of this week, the ex-president of the United States will be out on bond in yet another jurisdiction.
All right, folks, so Jen Psaki covered it succinctly. Well, here's what's interesting before we unpack the timing of it all. According to the Fulton County sheriff, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was asked about this, like, hey, look, what will the procedure be? Because in previous arrests, it seems like authorities have been particularly accommodating of Donald Trump because of his wealth, his celebrity, the fact that he's a former president, perhaps future president, right? There was an additional level of grace afforded to Donald Trump that would probably not be afforded to the vast majority of Americans under similar circumstances. And so a lot of people, myself included, were thinking, okay, guys, are you going to do it again? Like, is this man going to avoid the handcuffs and the fingerprinting and the mugshots and all the things? And the Fulton County District Attorney Sheriff, the Fulton County Sheriff said, no, we don't care what your status is. We have a protocol and we're going to follow it, so we got mugshots ready. Now, if that's true, and it's entirely possible that during the terms of the surrender, perhaps that was taken off the table. But as far as I know, it's still on the table, which means Donald Trump will be handcuffed, will be fingerprinted, and there will be a mugshot, which is hilarious. And I think a crucial step, in addition to the schadenfreude, towards reducing this man's unimpeachable status, right? Obviously, in any functioning society, whether we like it or not, there are certain accommodations which are afforded to those in power, right? But they should be very narrow and very contextual. Like if you're the sitting president, it should not be easy to sue the sitting president or to try to drag them in front of court. Of course not. Most people, most scholars on either side of the aisle agree. In order for the government to function, there are certain privileges afforded, at least temporarily, to people who are in positions of power, formal power, public service. But Donald Trump isn't. He's no longer the president of the United States. He's just a private citizen with Secret Service detail who is running for president. Besides his wealth and the Secret Service protection afforded to him as a former president, he's really no different from you and I, which means that the law is obligated to treat him thusly. This is crucial. This is important. This is actually not banana republic stuff. It's actually important. It's a solid step away from us being a banana republic, the idea that we do hold the powerful to account, especially when their current circumstances don't require them the special privileges that we afford them when they are holding office. And again, Donald Trump is not holding office. So having said all that, we know that he's going to surrender himself tomorrow. But this is what Brett Baier, one of the Fox propaganda network's, I don't know, he's disappointed me. He's no Chris Wallace. He used to be one of the few voices of sanity at the Fox Propaganda Network, but he has regressed in certain respects. Well, he's going to be one of the moderators of the upcoming Republican primary debate, which is later on this evening. This is what Brett Baer has to say, because Donald Trump is not participating in the debate. He says he's not going. He's going to instead do an interview with ex-Fox propagandist extraordinaire Tucker Carlson. So this is what Brett Baer has to say about all of this.
Brett Baer, there's a story this morning that he has agreed to turn himself in Atlanta on Thursday. Do you think he plans this? Because that would be the worst counter-programming ever if that's voluntary.
I think there has to be some planning, Hugh. I mean, I think it is about sucking the oxygen out of the room for anybody who had a big night on Wednesday, making the rounds on Thursday. I do think that they're calculated like that. It's not a great counter-programming thing, but I do think it is calculated.
So that's interesting, right? Obviously, we've never been in a position like this, but of course, it's just pure lizard strategy, right, to want to undermine whatever momentum your opponents may have. Now, Donald Trump enjoys a hilariously, stupidly comfortable lead within the Republican primary, which is why he feels that he can afford to ignore the debates. There's only risk for him and no reward, right? He's already ahead of them. What could he possibly do? Maximize it further? I mean, I suppose, but unlikely, given that many people in that field are skilled debaters, certainly more skilled debaters than he. Donald Trump is an excellent, he's certainly charismatic, and as a performer, he is better than any of them. In terms of a debater, I don't know. Like, he offers a lot of red herrings and non sequiturs, and, he's not very educated on the topics. He can't speak substantively about them. He lacks most, like 9 out of 10 of the major components we associate with a great debate. He's just good at interrupting people and throwing them off their game. So in that respect, he's good at what he does. But in terms of the usual skills we associate with a skilled debater, he lacks all of them. So him going up against Chris Christie, for example, who is just thirsty to attack Donald Trump verbally on the debate stage, it would be foolish of Trump to put him, because Christie is an infinitely superior debater who also has more experience now with Trump and understands how Trump works. So Christie has the education, the experience, the desire to crush Trump. He can speak substantively about policy issues, and he can also exploit Trump's terrible governing record, and as well as his legal and political woes. So Trump is doing the smart thing, I would argue, by avoiding the debate. But he's also maximizing the advantage further. According to reporting, he actually wanted to surrender himself the day of the debate, today, before the debate, which of course would dominate the news cycle. Now, I think almost arguably it might be better to do it the day after, right? Because it allows the debate to occur, right? And then before its intended effects can kick in, you just interrupt it with an infinitely greater and more scandalous, more sensationalist news story, right? So to me, this may even be the smarter move as opposed to doing it the day of. So anyway, it's funny that Brett Baer feels the same way. I'm sure he's salty because I imagine he wants Trump to be there as well. It would certainly boost Fox News ratings and give more people, something to sink their teeth into. And certainly the Republicans themselves are upset that Trump's not there, because any of them who have any interest in attacking him no longer have that option. But anyway, pretty clever move on Trump's part, and I'm excited to see the handcuffs, the fingerprints, and the mugshot. So please, Fulton County, Georgia gods, do not deny me that.